say, "You're muscular underneath it all." So I thought I would use that. I was like, well, underneath it all, I got the muscle.
Underneath. Yeah, have we done your body fat before?
Bro, no way.
You never let me. Yes, I have a picture of you doing it when we first started training together.
We did it. I didn't know that's what I was doing.
I'm gonna look at my statistics. I got it in my Evernote somewhere.
Well, I know I must have. I was morbidly obese for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the bad number.
How do you even know?
He told me.
Oh, he told you.
But I know it was based on that. It was BMI. That's why I thought that was.
Okay.
So it was like some 5'5"
We're
European dude.
This is the show.
I've been a 6'1" Puerto Rican my whole life, so I'm not in the category.
Yeah.
Well, the average height of the person that they based it on was like 5'6", something like that. Huh?
I don't know.
And like tiny.
You 5'6"? Not quite. 5'5.5".
Yeah, but weight then was supposed to be like 150 or something. 150, bro. I was 150 in kindergarten. You know what I'm saying?
All right, yo, RevFit Radio. We in the house. So we are just wrapping up our first workshop over here at the People's Forum, talking about understanding fitness justice, and we're starting a little later than usual, but that's because we've been doing some transition to the room.
We still got people here.
But we still got people here hanging out.
People's Forum.
So we hanging out. So it's our first little live show, little mini live show. Let me pan out.
Make some noise, y'all. Make some noise.
There we go.
Shout out to Nori.
So we were just having a really dope conversation about fitness justice, what it is, and we were kind of finishing the conversation with some possible solutions.
We didn't plan this hat thing.
We didn't plan the hat, but we both got great hats on.
We may have planned the shirt.
Dude, oh yeah, we did plan the shirt. Damn, we really looking like you are like my.
I'm like your stunt double. We don't want to injure the star, so you bring the stunt double in.
Word. So what was some of the good solutions people were talking about?
Yo, I should remember this because I wrote them down. But not only that, I can look at them and I can read them. I'm gonna act like I remember.
It's your handwriting.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's an educated handwriting on the board. So we were using the demographics of the Bronx and just showing. Well, you were telling us about the crazy statistics, health statistics in the Bronx, right? And so like a microcosm for disenfranchised, marginalized communities in the country, across the country. So some, statistics like the asthma rate in the Bronx is 4 times higher than the national average, things like that. The national statistics on children that are obese, childhood obesity, is 1 in 5. That's 20%. I did that quick math. But in the Bronx, it's 1 in 3. That's insane. So possible solutions for a few of those other, there's a few other statistics, was having a workshop for health and fitness community members on how to get their DOE vendor license number. So that's the thing. If you're trying to work in a school and also possibly get paid for it, you have to have something called a vendor number, right? A vendor license number. And so that's the only way that you can do it. Otherwise, you'd be volunteering. And so if you're an independent contractor or someone that is, making money through your own work, you may not have time or be able to just volunteer. So you want to be able to get paid. The only way you can get paid officially to go to a school and speak and participate is with this DOE vendor license number. So the suggestion was that you run a workshop and reach out to folks in the community and basically teach them how to apply for that license number, which I thought was a brilliant idea.
Well, because what I think it is that we have like people here who are educators or coaches, yoga instructors, and like a lot of times you have this service that you can provide, but you don't have necessarily the energy or time to like apply for a grant or to apply to run a program. Like that administrative work can kind of bog you down. But what happens is that a lot of schools or nonprofits are already doing the administrative work and gaining access to some funds, and they're looking for more service providers to come in and kind of provide the service.
So they have money. They don't necessarily have people, to give the money to.
Exactly, and then they're giving it to like knuckleheads, which is a whole other topic. But they're giving it to people that people don't really know what they're doing, but those are the people who are presenting themselves. So they're the ones getting the money. So sometimes we gotta just like know where the money's funneling in our community, what agencies or schools are funneling some money, and seeing how we get in there. Especially if it's some money that's being misused and mismanaged, we kind of have to think of ourselves like Robin Hood, going there.
This is one of those moments where I may not be using accurate facts or data. However, I want to say there's a lot of people that talk about lack of funding for city institutions, Department of Education, being one of those, I guess city institutions. However, I see a lot of new technology all the time. Every couple of years, there's like a new wave of laptops, a new wave of smart boards, fake smart boards, and other kinds of technology. There's a bootleg.
What's a fake smart board?
One of my schools got boards. They were called boards, not smart boards. They were like smart boards, but smart board is the brand. So it was called a board. But that's the one where you can like write with your finger, double tap or whatever, and it gets saved. It was never connected, bro. It was never connected. So we got all this technology, but they never connected it. But that had to be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff.
So it's mismanaged because then there's no training. The
never
software's
had
not
a training.
working.
The guy that trained us was a dude. Yeah. So like nobody wanted to go to training if there was a training. So there's a lot of mismanagement. But before we even get to that, there's money. There is some money there, it seems. And so if there's money for folks to come in and they don't have folks to come in, where does that money go? You know what I mean?
And if it's mismanaged, that means the folks who need it, the services or the access to it, they're not getting it because it's mismanaged. And then also, if it's mismanaged, it's probably not going to be a successful program and probably not going to get renewed for funding. So then they go back to whoever the funders are and they say, oh, look, we didn't really get that great result from this. Yeah, because you mismanaged the money and you handed it out to the wrong people. So that funding then that gets cut off, and that's even bigger disservice.
I heard that the oil that schools get is so the oil that the schools get. This is going towards the management.
Now we talking about like some Iraq thing.
No, check it.
The oil.
The schools, the oil like they get every year is based on it's based on how much oil they used the year before. So I remember one year it was extra. It was a warm winter and it was super hot in the building, and the super or the head custodian was like, we can't take the
that's
heat
like when
off.
you're in the project and you're just like sweating.
So we can't take the heat off, otherwise they won't give us enough oil next year.
God, crazy.
So there's like these are the ways this is how they manage resources, man. Like who's in charge? This sounds ridiculous. So that was one of the ways, right? That the DOE vendor licensing workshop. Another one was having educators like trying to tap communities for human resources, to have educators come from the community. And I know there was I don't know if it's a BLM or Black Lives Matter. I know it's one of their principles for Education Week, or Black Lives Matter Education Week, was to hire more Black teachers. And I feel like that was something that I had a young person talking to me. She was killing me. She came in and she just.
Well, what's the statistics with like Black male teachers? I mean, I don't know. Like crazy.
But it's not enough. There's not enough Black teachers. Certainly not enough Black male teachers.
It's like less than 2% of all teachers are Black males.
Something insane like that. We do know, but
yeah, I have 4. Yeah, saw
one.
He said one.
Two marches. But Tony's a counselor. Oh, Tony. I'm thinking Anthony. Okay, so we know 3.
But y'all are fairly progressive school.
Well, we are super diverse too. We are super diverse in general by the staff.
Oh yeah, statistically you're in line.
That's the staff number.
Yeah. And what's that do though? If there's not enough Black educators, Black male educators, what's that do? Why is that an issue?
Well, I mean, if you don't see yourself in what's around you, if you don't see yourself in the person that's in front of the room, where do you see yourself? You know what I mean? It's like everything else. If you don't see yourself represented in pop culture, on TV and movies, where do you see yourself? And oftentimes the narrative is not even controlled by people who come from your community, so those issues arise of just not really crisis of identity. What What does it mean to be black in America? What does it mean to be Latino, Latina, Latinx in America? You know, if you don't have people from those communities teaching you, who's teaching you? And what are they feeding you? What are they teaching you? You know what I mean?
Even if they are progressive and they are a little, more conscious, they're still not part of the
There's
reality.
always that moment.
Yeah.
And the truth comes out.
There's a white chick.
Yeah, there's always. I'm glad you said it because I don't want to be the one to say it. There's always that moment where you're like, oh yeah, you are white. I forgot.
So no, and then y'all was talking afterwards. You and Ray, you go by? Not Rene, right? Huh? Nay. What y'all was talking about offline at the end? Y'all were building. You and Rene. Y'all were talking. What y'all was talking about?
So
I feel like I cut off a conversation.
Well, no, I was saying that I'm looking for a way because where I work we're internship based, but we have I feel like we have a large segment of our student body that is not successful at their internship because their needs aren't being met.
So the school y'all work at, internships is part of their process to graduation.
The majority of their credits,
which is not traditional in New York City.
Through internship.
Yeah.
But then I feel like they're not really being set up for success because it's like this is what we do, come, do it, but we're not really going to show you how. You just have to kind of go do it. And I feel like there's been a call and a push and probably even an understanding, but like most things change. It does not happen overnight. It's like an incremental thing, and I feel like we're at a point where I think there seems to be a movement to have a stronger response to those young people in-house, right? We need to prepare them better to be successful when they do go out and go to these internship sites. I mean, these are, young people that are going to, functioning organizations that are not necessarily looking to work with a young person that may have learning disabilities. You know what I'm saying?
They're looking for capacity to
right,
do it,
somebody that they want to plug in to do a job, to do some sort of to fill a need. And so if this person might have a challenge with communicating their needs and stuff, that may result in a lack of attendance, which ends up in a loss of an internship, which may end up in a loss of that site as a site you have an internship with. You know what I mean? So I feel like we need to address that. And one of the ways is to, I think, support them in-house. So Nay and I were talking about bringing folks in that can serve as sort of like mentors in-house. And then my goal idea is to sort of like lead, like so you can come in and work with us in-house. And then the expectation will be that the next opportunity for an internship, maybe some of those folks that you're working with would go to RevFit and work with you there. But they'd already have that relationship established.
So we're gonna pan over. To Iris, because she's raising her hand. I saw her in the car.
Stranger.
So this is Iris, if you've never seen her before.
Hey, yo, finally, first time on camera. Yeah.
Big, yeah. Did they say why? What they think? That's an interesting. I wonder why, and I mean, it's also if we talk. Sorry, I don't know if you. If we talk about like in the coaching world and teacher, like as a trainer, I consider myself a teacher, and we're always in Revolutionary Fitness trying to say how can we get more people of color coaches, how can we get more, queer folks, why is there no one who, is in a wheelchair? Why are they not working at your local, fitness facility? Like getting more representation in there. And so you would think though that things are on the rise, but these figures are showing that in the past 10 years is on the decline, which is kind of crazy. Just males in general, not even people of color, just males in general.
Yo,
And imagine how many folks in New York City, the first language is Spanish or Cantonese or something like that. That's crazy. So the other thing I wanted to talk about that we kind of talked about in the workshop was the intersection between justice and fitness. Angel's kind of saying like, he's interested in this idea that potentially someone who maybe not into politics could get introduced to politics through something like revolutionary fitness, where we are speaking to people on the health front, on the fitness front, on the exercising, we have classes, and people engage with us on that front, but then we bring in the politics. Um, and we're not doing it like in a sneaky way. We're not like, by the way, read this book if you want to work out with us.
what's the fish pose? What's the fish pose I love?
There is a fish pose.
This is the fish pose?
Are you talking about corpse pose?
Corpse pose. I always call it dead fish. My fault. So it's not like yo.
It's his favorite pose.
While you're, that is my favorite pose, no doubt. While you're doing your corpse pose, put your foot under your head. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Doing Malcolm X biography.
The biography.
This is your yoga block.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The modification blocks. I need those all the time. The biography of Malcolm X. Actually, we should do that. How did I think about it?
It would be cool. Well, we've named our kettlebells after revolutionaries.
Yeah, but nah, that would
So
be
we were
dope.
thinking like putting stencils of their faces on the
That's
kettlebell.
what I'm saying.
But we can maybe get like the book covers of those books
on
and
the
wrap
block?
them on the yoga blocks. That'd be cool.
I'm sure we could get someone to come paint.
Yeah, that'd be a dope project.
That would be so dope. Look at that. We should do that. It would be a nice money making endeavor for us.
Yes, but
Get back to the right? Nah, we could do that and bring it back to the people.
so yeah, so we do like
Trademark.
we do have like people who come to RevFit, for instance, like 50% of the people who go to RevFit in East Harlem are from the Bronx. Half of our membership is from the Bronx. So like people like, why are you coming all the way from the Bronx to go to this space? And the reason is, I mean, first of all, there's no jobs in the Bronx, so people work in Manhattan usually. Commute to the Bronx, so we're like a little stopping point. So that's part of it. But another thing is like people gravitate to that space because of the politics, even if they know it or not. You know what I mean? So like
Community. It's a community.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that I think will bring people out. No matter what it is that you're doing, if you created an authentic, organic community that embraces all of its members equally, I've never been in a space like that, you know. And with the few times that I've been to classes, I'm making jokes about being fat and being out of shape, and like not being able to do any of the moves. Jenny, who was a monster, when she's running the class, and she's like, "Do this, do that," and I'm like, "What? Like, can you do that again?" And it's like people are laughing at me.
Well, Jenny does that to me too, though. Yeah, she does the movements. I'm like, Jenny, I can't do that.
Take us through those progressions a little slower, because I can't even.
Jenny's my partner, if you don't know.
So, but the space is like so embracing and like it's, and I'm not saying that because I'm down. I'm saying that because it's true, And I'm one of those folks that I've had the gym membership. I've always tried to find gyms that have basketball courts because that is my favorite way to exercise, play basketball. But even that, it's like these are folks that play college ball or so I can't really play with them anymore. And it's just like the weights. I'm not doing the weights. The guys dropping weights and yelling. And it's just not a space I want to be in, So
There's a little bit that happened last night. I was not feeling it.
Yeah.
Dropping weights and yelling. One of our members, Josh, he likes to drop weights. But some women like to grunt in some ways too. But what I think it is when someone dominates a space, and kind of like they don't care about who's around and how they feel, and they're just like, I'm a man, that I think that manifestation, which is a work in progress, Josh. You got to work on that. So in any case, but I think if you walk into our space, I mean, there is you have to be a little progressive to be in our space. You know what I mean? Because there's pictures of Malcolm X on the wall, LGBT flag, yeah.
Where you know.
Yeah. It's funny too because we're part of this. We have the service called Class Pass, You know what Class Pass is? Class Pass is like this thing that someone doesn't have to have a gym membership, but they have a membership to Class Pass, and they can use that pass to any participating gym. So I get like 10 pass vouchers a month. I could go to any participating gym. So we're one of the few spots in East Harlem that does Class Pass, and of course, a lot of people that use Class Pass are white folks. So we get a lot of white folks who come into the space not knowing anything about the space, just like coming for a kettlebell class, and they're like, "Whoa." Like it's all people color led, all these images on the walls. So very quickly they know what's up.
That's hilarious. What was RevFit the first gym in the East Coast or in the whole country to rock with kettlebells? I always say that, but I never remember the exact stat.
So we're one of the first kettlebell clubs in New York City. We started using kettlebells before they started getting popular in the gyms, and we were one of the first dedicated kettlebell spaces. And we were definitely the first kettlebell space uptown. But now there's a couple of CrossFits that have opened up uptown and in the Bronx, and they have kettlebells. Now, not Blink, is it Blink? Is that one of the things? Blink, right? Blink has kettlebells.
Well, kettlebells are everywhere now.
Yeah. Now you can find
I've seen
them.
them at the
Yeah.
big chain.
But we definitely were at the forefront.
Because I know I never saw one until y'all.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan was talking about them pretty soon after that, and now they're everywhere.
Well, that's also, I mean, the reason we picked the kettlebells is interesting. This ties into our fitness justice model. So everybody know what a kettlebell looks like? It's like the cannonball with the handle, not kettleball. Sometimes people call it kettleball. But the kettlebell was actually an instrument from Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union. And that's where it was kind of born. And it was, so in the Soviet Union, with all the contradictions the Soviet Union had, one of the things that they were very strong on was public health. So they wanted to ensure that public health was high because it brought down health insurance costs, and it also increased labor production. So if back in the days, especially when labor and industrialization was primarily off of physical labor, you had to have healthy individuals. So they were very mindful about making folks healthy and all that kind of stuff, free healthcare, all that. But in all they had community centers in every district, right? Kind of similar how we have like YMCA's and Parks and Rec, but they were like really well funded, and they were like for every square mile. You know what I mean? So it was like every community had them. It was mandated, and the primary tool that they had, in addition to the barbell, was a kettlebell. And the reason is because the kettlebells last forever. You buy one of these cast iron kettlebells and you could throw it around, bang it up, throw it out a window or whatever, and that thing can last for 100 years. So it's a good investment. Also, too, in the hood where rent is skyrocketing, and to rent out a studio is really hard. We have a very small space, around 450 square feet. So we had to be mindful, like, what can we fit in here? You know what I mean? To take advantage of space and get a good workout going. So it was definitely political why we did the kettlebell.
Don't throw a kettlebell out the window, by the way.
Don't throw it at nobody. But yeah, so we definitely bring in people who are a little bit more politically minded, and then we also, I think, people get exposed to a lot of politics. So we don't force politics on anybody, but they're exposed. There's flyers lying around, informational pamphlets. There's people talking about political organizing. There's people who come into the space from other political entities in the neighborhood, community gardens, and local schools, and they're conversing, and the members are being exposed to that politics.
Community space.
Yeah,
not just to build community, but of that community.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people that are passing through to different spaces in the space. So you're seeing all the folks that are in the area moving to the space, and it's a dope spot. If you're able to, and if you haven't been yet, you should come down and check us out. I know I gotta get back in there. Heard there was some views and treats.
I was supposed to bring something on my phone.
That was my little
so yeah.
Little hint.
And then also too, so like, and we do have white members. We have folks who are not native to the community who end up working out there. And I would say, because we're it's not like we're exclusive. We are very targeted on who we're trying to reach. We're very targeted that we're trying to reach community members, people of color, people who have low income, socioeconomic status. We're very intentional about marketing. Like if you look at our Instagram, it's gonna be very hard to find a white person on our Instagram. That's not because we don't let white people in the gym. There's a lot of white members, but I think it's having this intentionality of like reaching out to those who are not being spoken to, because these white folks, they have gyms and spaces they can go to and that they feel included and all that. That's not our job, is what we see. Our job is to make it inclusive for everybody else. And if you want to hang out with us and you're down to be exposed to politics and you're down to get checked if you say something out of line, then we want you in the space. We want to encourage that multinational unity.
I was there. I think it was one of those days where we miscommunicated. I was there like 3 hours early for a class and one of our podcast sessions. So it was Jenny, it was me, and there was someone else. I forget who was also there. But there was this older Puerto Rican dude walked in, and he just started doing what men do sometimes. He came in, saw two females and me, and he was a fit dude, and that's what he came in saying. He's like, I always walk by this place, and I see people in here working out, and that's important. We got to be healthy. But he also had like this crazy bandage on his face. He said, I just got cancer removed from my face, but I'm fit. And he was like, I could do 100 push-ups right now. I mean, he was going off. Dude, mansplaining wasn't even it. It was just like man speech. It was like he was going. And we were just looking at each other, and it almost was like, we're going to let this dude do what he does. No one here is threatened by it, and it seems like he was in need, right? But he started misspeaking about some things. And then we started checking him, and that got him more upset.
Like what he said.
He was talking about
I don't do those girl push-ups, stuff like that.
Nah. It wasn't like that. But he was saying something about like Puerto Rico, and we were saying that Puerto Rico is basically a colony, and he was saying, nah, there's no such thing as a colony. Your mind is right. But then he was doing the mommy thing, and like he got it a little, not misogynistic, but he was definitely doing the man thing. Like, yeah, you don't know as much as I do, but it was very like subtle. But we were just like, this is weird, man. And then why don't you come to a class so you can see? Because Jenny was dropping gems on him, and he was just not even trying to hear it. And I was like, yo, this is the world that we live in. Like this dude right here, who clearly was a revolutionary-minded Boricua man, who clearly had a health issue in the moment going on, also believed in physical fitness. So on paper and looking at him, you would think he would align with the vision, still walking into the space, not really aligned. There were still some things that need to be worked out. So the best thing we said was come to a class, because those things will be worked out. Like, we're going to embrace you and also check you a little. And, that might not be something his ego would have been able to tolerate at first, but maybe it could. If he realized
I feel like people are more receptive to that. Exactly. If there's more love versus going into a space where they're taught to feel like garbage or like you're a criminal. I feel like if I walk into a business and someone looks at me like I'm not supposed to be there because of my race or because of my hair or because of the way I speak, that's going to be more of a dangerous situation than me going in a space and people checking me on being misogynist or like, you know what I mean?
It was so bizarre because it was like there's no other place this dude could have felt comfortable doing this. That doesn't mean he wouldn't, right? Because he seemed like he was cocky enough to go anywhere and start doing this. But like it was almost like we saw that he was in need, so we were giving of ourselves to his.
And he saw y'all were open.
But then it's like also there were some issues that he was bringing up. But it was like this is the kind of person we want to come in here and sort of embrace and uplift, So I really thought that was wonderful. I would love for you to ask Jenny if you remember that.
I think she told me about that. Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
But I think that's important too, because a lot of people who do this work, who open up businesses in the hood, who are trying to provide services in the community, really can't like open themselves to members of the community, because we have some idea of like how you're supposed to speak and how conscious you're supposed to be, and if you say something that's a little misogynistic, or if you say something that's like out of line or sexist or something like that, we're like, oh no, you got to go somewhere else. When really at the end of the day, if you're gonna do this work, and be open to the community, you got to realize the community is full of all these contradictions. And we got to work together to kind of iron out those contradictions. We can't just turn people away because they said something wrong with their language, or their political training for the past 50 years has been in the capitalist misogynist society. You know what I mean? So yeah, so there's some folks that come into the space, who are, and they come into our. I love that they come into our space. You know what I mean? I'll get people who are like strung out coming into the space. I'll get kids who are like, you could tell that they might be living on the streets, coming into the space, and they feel like they can come into the space. And I have to make myself available to them. Not just turn them away and be like, "Oh, I'm busy with work. I can't talk to you." But a lot of businesses don't do that, and they can be businesses that are for the community, businesses that are ran by people that look like they're from the community, but they still will turn these folks away.
That was one thing that definitely struck me was like, damn, when you open up a small business, you are working with whoever walks through the door, and that's why I think I could never do it. So it's like, nah, when I'm out, when I'm not working, when I'm out in the world, I'm very guarded. I keep sunglasses on when I'm not, even at
I
work.
thought it was just you just covering your sexy eyes. I know what you're
There's
doing.
also some of that. But it's like, nah, I'm a firm believer that the eyes are the window to the soul. So, like, not everyone can have access to my soul. Like, I have to protect myself and have to move through spaces protecting myself. You know what I mean? And I feel like when you do that, unless you want to be an asshole and you turn people away, you have to be prepared to deal with whoever comes through in a responsible way. And I was like, man, this is hard work. The work that you do that you do in that moment, that's hard work. You know what I mean? And so I was like, something that you may not consider when you're thinking about opening a business. Because with you and with Chris, with Beer Wax, I'm like, yo, that sounds like the move, yo. People of color, owning their own businesses, trying to hire people of color, uplifting our community. But then there are all these things that you probably don't really consider until
Crazy.
Your face.
Well, probably the same thing as an educator, right? So you're working with young people from our community who have so much need for social support that they're not getting, and it all falls on you as the educator. So now you're their therapist, you're their educator, you're potentially a parent for them, you're a mentor, you're helping them on their mental health, all these kind of things that you might not be trained and adequately able to do. And I think it creates a frustrating situation, So you get a lot of teachers who just get burnt out in those situations,
I never let what I haven't been trained for stop me from doing it. You know what I mean? But I know that one of the things that kept me going was surrounding myself with people that I can lean on that do have that experience. I'm the first person that would say I don't know. Let's find out. And I feel like that is a skill that's a skill, and that's like you have to be humble enough to say I don't know. Because so many young people are trained to think the teacher knows everything, so they have to be the final word. And it's like, I don't know nothing. Like we're gonna learn together. You know more about so many things than I do. You know more about yourself than I do. You know more about where you're from than I do. Sometimes.
Yo, all my teachers in high school were like 24-year-old kids from Boston. I'm looking back like, wow, what the heck?
That's crazy.
Now that I look at 24-year-old kids from Boston, I'm like, damn, fingers are up. Yo, we got some questions for folks, right?
They must have done a good job hiding stuff.
Nah, because you just assume, someone put you in this role.
You're looking at teachers as some sort of like knighted class of people, right? Like, oh shit, you were bestowed knowledge somehow in society, and now you are capable of. But being an educator, I'm like, oh my god, like I wonder if this was how it was back when I was in school, because I was in public school to high school, and then my mom and dad were like, there's no way you can go to your zone public high school, which was Truman in Co-op City, and they were like, nah, like we're not doing that. And so they ended up sending me to a private all boys high school, which was where I learned about class and race. That's where I learned about it. And all those people were, basically older white dudes. You know what I'm saying? And I felt out of place the second I walked in there, and I was like, oh snap! There were two teachers. They happened to be black men, and then the Spanish teachers. I felt more connection to the black guys than I did to the Spanish folks because I didn't identify. I don't speak Spanish. This wasn't my thing, right? So I was playing basketball and listening to rap and all that stuff, which I'm not the only, like, there were white kids that were doing that stuff too, but like that's where I fit in. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna show y'all how to make it here. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know if that would have been a place that I could have stayed, And then my boys, then I met my boys that I'm still best friends with. And it was like, damn. So I realized now as a teacher, right, that I'm doing what they did for me with my students. It's not like I'm doing anything like new. It's just, I'm like creating a space for you. Maybe other people never did that, right? But I'm gonna do this because I know that that's what I need. You know what I mean? So, the training I have puts me in a position where I can teach anything, not because I know it all, just because I'm a special ed teacher, so that by nature means that you have to have a little bit of familiarity in all the different subjects. But so that puts me in a lot of places where I don't know the subject, and I'm like, oh snap! Like I taught science the first time a couple years ago. It was advanced biology. Yo, fam, I was in that class sitting with the bad kids. Myself, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was the worst kid. That was the role I played. But in doing that, it made them comfortable enough to not have to act out and do the stuff that they would normally do. Because I was like, so I was able to ask the teacher to clarify on their behalf, and then explaining it, I could teach them. You know what I'm saying? So like, they're little tricks that you learn, but you know, it's just like being a human, being a good balanced human. That is what we're doing, right? You're not always in that space. So that's tough.
So we had some questions.
We had some questions
before we start wrapping up soon. What's the questions we got for today? So who here sitting in the audience listens to our podcast regularly? Who has heard of our podcast before? There we go. Nice. So we have some questions based off of
previous episodes.
All right.
So if you get these right, you may get a gift.
Yeah.
But
so what's the question?
Well, I wasn't ready.
Oh, I already got the question? So what is it? What do
y'all think?
Who says A? All the facts.
Oh, damn! Yo, we gotta, like, can we do this? Are y'all okay if we put can we put y'all on camera for this? Yo, we gotta put y'all on camera for this question. Yo, we got a dead shaking of the head when it was like all the facts. Nah. No, definitely not all the facts.
Okay, so definitely not A.
Oh, that's true. We just pull out our fact checker.
Yeah.
Arsenio's in Texas right now.
B, some of the facts.
Strong.
C, alternative facts.
Strong alternative facts.
Yo, you have to get make it?
No facts.
All right.
The answer is D. This is a direct quote from Shawn in one of the episodes. He said that we have no facts. We were going off topic. Clearly, it was my fault.
Oh, I still think that this is a joke that you were supposed to answer A.
No, because he said we have no facts. Arsenio, check the facts. That's when it started. We got no facts. Arsenio, check the facts.
I feel like we're the types of folks who have a lot of knowledge, but not
we don't
always
have those numbers.
The specifics.
Who does that though? Who gives all the numbers to support what they're saying? Who? I'm just saying.
Oh.
Who does that? Who does that?
Who's in charge of the facts?
Who in your life experience, when you hear them talk, the type of people that constantly are using numbers to support what they're saying? I don't know either. It's people that lie. Right? We're telling the truth out here.
Yeah,
we don't gotta lie.
They use the
if
stats
you feel
for
it,
their...
you know it's true. We don't have to give you numbers. Like, yo, we're telling you the truth.
Yes. The champ from? Autocorrect.
Where? Borough is Rene the champ.
Yeah, that's
A. Harlem. There's a lot of questions in the question. A. Harlem. B. Jersey. C. Brooklyn. Jersey. Harlem, Jersey, Brooklyn,
Is the Bronx.
I call myself the Bronx champ of all kinds of
But you don't even live in the Bronx, bro.
Bro, I was born and raised, bro.
But where you at now? Area 30,
Rat style.
Area 31. That's a good boy. Moving on up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Literally.
Next
All the
question.
way up. Yeah, my,
Do it. What percentage ratio of
She's really out of practice.
hey, yeah.
wait, what percentage ratio out of 100 does Shawn advocate for in terms of a healthy lifestyle? I like this percentage because it's like I can tell.
I read a lot of questions.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I read the question. What percentage ratio out of 100 does Shawn advocate for in terms of a healthy lifestyle? A, 80-20. B, 60-40. C, 50-50. D, 100. How many say 80-20? 60-40? 60-40?
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is
Hey, 80-20. You gotta be allowing, you know what I'm saying?
We would, what was vegan? What was
We're talking about plant-based
diet,
nutrition.
and he said that they try to follow an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time they eat plant-based, and they eat 20% for other.
Yeah,
So that's like a good rule to follow for. He said like anything.
yeah, for sure.
What was the 60-40?
yeah.
I feel like I'm on a 50-50.
I know. I like to. I mean, I want to have a little more fun. When I have fun.
Usually I'm 100% wrong with what I'm eating, but you know, I'm
70-30.
that's a good balance.
Yeah.
Aspirational. We're aspirational out here.
Okay. Next question. When Rene took the DNA test, which action figures were sent back as the result?
This is very specific.
This is how you know if you listen to the show.
A. Natural music and party from Lord. B. Heaven from changes and mouth from Lord. I also say. C. Caldrago and Baku from Black Panther. D. Rampage and Lion. I don't remember this. Maybe I do.
You do.
So who says A? Natural music and party from Lord.
The answer is B, all right?
It's not B.
What is it?
I thought it was
It's C. It's C.
I don't even remember what that was.
Umbaku.
I thought it was natural music.
So-
Yeah, I didn't.
I did my DNA test and it came back that I am like the textbook definition of a Puerto Rican, like 35% Spanish from the Iberian Peninsula, 20% African, and 15% Native American.
That math is bad, but yeah.
Well, no, because it was 60% European,
There you go.
but it was 35 from Spain and then single percentages of Mediterranean. And they did that because the way they do it is they compare your samples to other people that have submitted. So what that means is anyone that has submitted that it might be Spanish or Italian or whatever, any other, they would have similar traits, but I guess the breakdown would be less. So that's why you get all these like singles. So those singles added up to what made it 60%. But anyway, I made a joke about them sending me back toys of Cal Drogo and Mbaku, which are two of my favorite tribes, Dothraki and Jabari and Black Panther and Game of Thrones, and I didn't get it.
Yeah. But that was funny.
I put
You did, right? That's crazy how that comes
it's
out.
like all the
That's the worst when you do your DNA and you like, no.
yeah, I
Yeah.
that was the part.
I thought that I dead thought that they were gonna say you got like your 25% Samoan or Hawaiian.
Right?
I was waiting for them to say that, and then they was like,
Yeah,
my
get
wife
better.
said, so you spent $100 to find out you was Puerto Rican? I could have told you that shit for free. I was like, damn. You did me like that.
I was surprised when I did my I thought I was more like native, indigenous kind of Puerto Rican,
Yeah.
but I was actually 22% Northern African. And then I looked at Northern African pictures from Northern Africa. I was like, no, they look like Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, no.
So, it makes sense. Yeah.
Crazy. They, 22andMe or 23andMe or whatever, they give you a lot of different data than what I did with Ancestry. And since I first got the info, I logged in and they give me different data numbers have changed.
Yeah, updated. Yeah.
Yeah, I have different data based on
I have so much to say. Next, what kind of player is a A, player, a United player, United player,
United player. A United player.
a United player. So who says A?
Shout out to United players.
A top player. Player.
He's off the beat, so he's usually behind the scenes.
He's not fact checker.
Yeah.
He can tell.
He took the
there's
day
no
off.
facts today.
He was like, yo, they going off the bridge today.
Anybody say a two player? Anybody say a player? Yeah, one player there. Yeah. Anybody say a United? I don't know either, but it's funny. It's A. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
asking, it's A.
Yo, he's got like 30,000 followers on Instagram.
25,000 followers.
25,000 followers.
He's in
He's
Texas
a
right
top
now.
player.
He's in Texas right now doing the Power Rangers movie.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
You get dressed up as characters from famous stuff.
Yeah.
And so he's
He does Aquaman,
like super
Daredevil.
famous for this stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was really amazing. I had to, whatever small messages, because I had to not have the video where he just like, well, I thought it was, I don't know if
Logo.
yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was like doing the thrust, and he had like a hype man friend. And it was just so funny because he was practicing, and he's going around, and he's dressed up like, what are they called?
Oh no, the correct.
Yeah. So,
But no, on the side note, me and Arsenio went to go see Aquaman recently. It was a really good movie. But Jason Momoa, oh my God. I just watched that movie. I was like, oh, I didn't work out. Let's do this rap. Yeah. Move on. Next topic.
You have a good beard, bro. Oh, thank you.
There's one more.
last question. What is Irish music?
Let's see if you get the right.
A. Tweetmaster. Fact checker. C. Production queen. D. Astrologer. Yeah.
Fact checker.
All right.
So it's either A. Tweetmaster. C. Production queen. D. Astrologer. Going with C. Nothing. You play with that?
That's solid, man.
What
What's
do
your
you
sign?
guys-
What's your sign? I don't even know.
He's like,
She
I
can
don't
tell
know what that
you.
is.
Oh, Leo.
I'm a I'm friends with everybody.
It's always good to say that.
Until you mess with me, I guess, right? You mess with my family, my friends. What you guys answer this?
Production queen B.
No, that's not saying now. I'm really the Twitter.
When we be doing the show talking crazy, you will be commenting and like the answer is this.
It makes it
What
sound
you
so
just said
smart.
is this and that. So we'll be like, yo, Iris, thank you. You gave us the real fact.
If I'm not on a special cookie, then statement. Yeah. What do you?
Special cookie. Yeah,
Right?
Plant-based.
It's plant-based. That's your fault. But that's it. That's what's supposed to bring
Nice,
us.
thank you. Well, then we didn't get it, but we were supposed to bring them, but I didn't bring them. We didn't have enough time.
I have.
But we all
Wait,
only
Oh
got,
yeah, that's right. You told me.
we all always that before I start giving them stuff.
No, I have.
Oh, yeah, I can get some goldfish, but no. Get some stacking.
Yo, this is
Or-
great. I'm putting this on camera.
Yeah.
Hey yo, these
If
are the
you guys
gifts.
want, these are the gifts.
Kind bars and goldfish. Only
no,
at
we
RevFit
owe
Radio.
everyone t-shirts. We're supposed to bring them.
Yo, yeah, my bad.
New York City subway.
So you get a T-shirt for participating in our
Live
game,
show.
our wild game show.
You guys?
No, I'm good for now. Afterwards. So I think we're gonna wrap it up, right?
Yeah, man.
All right, yeah. So it was a great event. So we talked about understanding fitness justice. The event was really dope over here at the People's Forum. Big up to the People's Forum, 320 West 37th Street. We're gonna be doing educational class every month here on the second Tuesday. I'm pretty sure the second Thursday of every month. So in January, I think it's January 10th. We're doing a workshop on eating plant-based on a budget. So definitely come out for that. And we'll also be doing another recording of our podcast. And anything else around that?
Join us.
Yes.
Tell your friends.
Yes. Next week, what's today's date?
Today's the 13th.
13th. So we have a show next week. And our show next week is on what, Iris?
Which one? Is it, composting? Is it the
Yes. Composting.
environment-
Oh, we should get you on the show, girl. We got a master composter in the house.
Yeah,
that's good. That's important.
tying environmental
Environmental racism. Yeah.
with composting because someone had a question.
And food waste. Yo,
Yeah.
I go to my daughter's school all the time, and they like just throw all the food out every day. It's crazy, the food waste, and it all goes into landfills. No composting going
Do
on.
you need the worms? Do the worms need to be there for the composting to happen? Yeah.
It matters what kind of setup you have.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You don't need to have
We got to get
worms.
her on the show next week.
That I was foreshadowing. We were doing radio trickery there. If you want to know the answer to that question, tune in next time, suckers.
Yeah.
Isn't it like a goal on YouTube though? Does that have a goal of something that has
So
Oh, yes.
a lot of numbers?
one of these days, I'm gonna weigh myself, and y'all are gonna know what the number is, and then we're gonna raise money for every pound I lose. But we need to have 7 people live here with us, or something like that.
I don't know
No,
what the hell you're talking
But no,
about.
that's the contest we have. That was sponsor your weight loss.
That's a contest. That's something different.
But what I
So-
was talking about,
Yeah. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. So if you're here, go to Revolutionary Fitness Academy. It's a new YouTube channel because before it used to all be on our New York City YouTube channel. But we need subscribers for this new YouTube channel, so definitely subscribe. We'll have the show next week on composting. Hopefully, we get special guests in the house, and then of course go to our Patreon, become a supporter, and then we're gonna be having a bye week the week after next week for the holidays. I'll be out of town. I don't know. I was gonna go to Puerto Rico, but I think I might be going to Mexico or Jamaica. I'm not sure. Bro.
Let me know. You go to Jamaica, I'm with it.
Really? Don't
Yes.
make promises you can't keep.
Let me
How-
tell you something. I don't know if it's because of what I look like, but every island I've ever been to, I've never been to Jamaica. Someone rolls up
I think
on
you're
the
Jamaican.
beach at me and offers me weed, like to buy weed.
Oh, I get that all the time too. I don't
That's
know why.
crazy. I bet you it doesn't happen in Jamaica though.
You don't think someone's gonna offer you weed in Jamaica on
watch,
the beach?
watch.
Yo, one of the crazy. There's a tangent story. I was on the beach. I don't smoke because I get too paranoid. But I hang with smokers and I love the idea of smoking. I just can't do it. But we were on the beach in Puerto Rico, and we were on the island of Vieques, which is a small island that's been abused by the United States, just off the coast of Puerto Rico, part of Puerto Rico, one of the biggest
The military,
naval sites.
specifically.
Yeah. So in any case, but we're walking along the beach, and there was this random dude from Trinidad. He was from Trinidad. Yeah, he wasn't Guyanese. He was from Trinidad. So he was from Trinidad, and he was actually composting the fish. The compost was the fish byproduct, right? The fish dust or whatever.
Wow.
He was composting it and then using that compost to grow his weed.
What?
And he just like pulled out like a whole bushel of weed and just dropped it into somebody's hand. Somebody, I'm not gonna say the name. The name is Jenny. And and Jenny was like, oh, yo. And she said it was some of the best. So compost.
Damn.
Next week we're gonna talk about composting. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
This was a
Brought it back together. All right, y'all. Thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thanks for listening to the show.
Power to the people.
Check you out next week.
So,